USA against England on Friday. Huge game. I mean, Nick, I'm going to come to you. What do they need to improve then to maybe not have a chance? I think they showed against Wales that they can take it to teams. And if they put another 45 minutes display and string that together for 60 or 70 minutes, then they can go toe-to-toe with England. But what do they need to sort of improve on to cause England some problems? And of course, this is an England team full of confidence. We're able to rest a lot of players, beat Iran 6-2. And Greg Berhalter is already saying, right, England rested up today and we're going to have to go at them with them feeling a little bit more comfortable than we are right now. So difficult proposition for the USA coming up against a very, very talented England team.
It is, and it's a classic easier said than done situation. They have to be clinical. They have to get behind Harry Maguire or whoever else is playing center back, because Kyle Walker was pretty good today. Kieran Trippier is a man in form for club and country. Declan Rice is a handful in the middle. Unlocking that defense seems, I don't want to say impossible, but improbable without a lot better understanding of what they want to do when they get into the final third. And that scares me a great deal. I do think there's a chance that the U.S. can hang in the midfield and maybe make some exceptional plays to get some chances. But that England team we saw today playing that fast and that with that much of an understanding about what they need to do, you're better off drawing up your plan to beat Iran.
Yeah, Andy, that's a good point, right? It's kind of like you've had less rest. Obviously, England are the favourites going into this game against the USA. I think we all agree with that. But what Nick said there is a really good point, isn't it? Because Wales are going to play Iran next. And it just depends on that result. And then do you go into the final game knowing that the goal difference has to be better or whatever to get through the group stage? So we talked about this before, Tom, didn't we? The way the games are stacked up for the US, not ideal. So how would you approach this game against England if you're the USA? And what sort of things do you want to see an improvement on from Greg Berhalter's side?
Yeah, again, not to repeat or just echo what Nick has said, but that is the area that you can look at and say, this is what let them down today. They only had 5 shots in the game, just the one on target. Like you said, Joe, you need to be able to create more when you have that much possession and you're moving the ball effectively. That was the thing that they did so well, was they got the ball from the back line or the defensive midfield straight to a winger. There wasn't 2 or 3 slow plodding passes that lets the defense shift and rotate and get in position. And then by the time it gets to the winger, there's no threat whatsoever. They were targeting in behind the fullbacks. Where a fullback would be, I suppose, in a 4-man back line, because Wales had the 3-man back line. I think they probably need to stick with that and try and target those wide defenders, whether it's going to be Trippier or not. Obviously, they've got multiple options there at right back and Luke Shaw at left back. There's mistake possibilities in there. So I do think a similar game plan to what they used against Wales would be a good starting place. But it's ultimately going to come down to what do they do in the final third and inside the penalty area. And against Wales, it just wasn't enough. It's hard to see them going at obviously a much better team in England, much more accomplished defenders, players that we know very, very well, and seeing them suddenly create a dozen quality scoring chances. It's just not going to happen. So I think they probably have to try and grind it out a little bit. And if they can do that, I will be very, very impressed, because that's taking on a huge underdog and kind of against the world mentality straight after being the team that's dominant and in control of the game and had something to lose. It's just, I'm going to keep coming back to, I think, with this U.S. team, the experiences that they're having at this tournament, the situations that they find themselves in and how they respond to it. And so this is just another really interesting situation that they've got along the way.
I will say I didn't expect England to play so well in this 4-3-3 system. It looked like they've been playing together in this formation for 10 years at club level. It was the understanding, the cohesion. It was just all on point. It was excellent against Iran. But Iran did sit back and give them a lot of space. And usually England have struggled against teams who set up like that in previous tournaments. So that was a progression from them. So I feel like the US, actually, their best chance of getting something in this game is probably going on the front foot. Because I feel like if they sit back, we now know that England can pick their way through defenses. So you have to pick and choose your moments, of course. But I actually think watching the opening games, England defensively, whenever they were tested by Iran, I mean, they got called out. They conceded twice. Jordan Pickford made a good save to tip one onto the bar. There were chances there, big chances for Iran. I think with Harry Maguire being a bit rusty, John Stones can get is susceptible when you go direct as well. And Eric Dyer, I think the same could be said for him as well. So if you've got some fast players up there, if you're going to run in Sargent again and Pulisic, and then maybe get a Gio Reyna in behind or an Aronson running at England's defence as well, I think the US sets it up very differently to what I did against Wales. And I'm just saying, I'm sure Nick doesn't agree with me, but
No.
Defensively, England are susceptible. And I think the US, if they can go at it early and catch England out and then sit back and maybe defend deeper, that's how they're going to get someone out of this game. But Nick, go ahead.
I don't think you're wrong there. But I think you have to still outscore England. And the difference, again, we talked about that final third understanding. Bukayo Saka, Mason Mount, Raheem Sterling, and Harry Kane are getting bunkered down again. Well, not Harry Kane this year. Sorry, Andy. But they're mostly getting bunkered down every game against them, and they know how to break down teams. Raheem Sterling has spent the last 4 years playing a part of a system where he had to learn what to do in tight spaces with the ball. And it's going to be extremely interesting to me if you're the U.S. and let's say Iran draws Wales, or you're going to know the score 6, 7, 8 hours beforehand. Do you have two game plans in mind if you're Greg Berhalter against England? Does it become a bunker in and hope to counter? Maybe that's what it is anyways. Maybe it's a 5-4-1 no matter what. But it's going to be interesting to see how they adjust to knowing what that result is. Because if it's Wales 3-0 Iran, well, you better get a point.
Yeah, you better. I mean, let's go for it then. Let's do some predictions score-wise, Andy. I mean,
it's going to be. Why would you do this to us, Mr. 6'2"?
I'm just saying. I want to hear what you have to say because I think we've got different views on this right now. So, Andy, go ahead.
2-1 to England, I think. The U.S. are going to make it a game, but I think it's going to be one of those where it's it's not a blowout by any means, but you always know what the final result is going to be.
Nick?
Oh, Joe. 3-1 England. I think they're buzzing right now, and they're going to come into this game expecting it. And unless the U.S. can hit them early with a goal and really frustrate them, I have a very difficult time thinking this will be close. I think it'll be tight. I mean, I think the U.S. will make it a game, like Andy said, but I don't think it'll be close, if that makes sense.
I'm going to go 1-0 England. I just think that it'll be really, really close, really tight. The U.S. are going to play for a draw, which I don't think they should do, but I think England will just find a way somehow. One of these star players will come up with a big moment. But it's just typical second game of a tournament, recovering from a big game a few days before. One eye on the third game as well. I think that's just caught England out at a few tournaments. So
but their depth, Joe. Sorry, I'm looking at the guys they didn't play and the guys that played less than 20 minutes. There is not an 11 that England could trot out that I wouldn't expect them to beat the U.S.
Yeah, I don't know.
Joe, let me ask you real quick. Scale 1 to 10. How excited are your English people to face the U.S. and give the U.S. a little something in this game? Like, does that exist on the England fan side?
Not really. I don't think. I think it's just, no. I just think no. It's just the rivalry's there, but I think it's more of a friendly rivalry than anything. I think there's a lot of respect to the U.S. From England, and I think that's down to what a lot of these young players have done in the Premier League the last few years, and the respect levels are growing. And I think maybe the other way around, it's more important, the rivalry. The US fans want to beat England more than the other way around. But that's how I would sum it up for sure. But we'll have plenty more coverage ahead of that game, though, lads. The Battle of the Atlantic, shall we call it that? I think something like that, along the North Atlantic at least. USA against England coming up this Friday in the World Cup. Head over to Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com for preview information, projected lineups, how to watch info. Obviously, you can watch it in Spanish on Telemundo, on Peacock. Glad you covered with all of that analysis from the three gents on the screen. What a game coming up the day after Thanksgiving. England against the USA. Let's see who will be giving thanks to the particular football gods on that day.